Standing up again. The psychology of failure, resilience, and success. Hello, friends. My name is Michael Carter, and today I want to talk to you about a topic that's at the very heart of growing up, living well, and finding happiness in America, or anywhere in the world. How we face failure, and how we learn to remain calm and resilient when life doesn't go as planned. You see, people often assume that life should be a straight path upward, success after success, each achievement building neatly on the last, like climbing the rungs of a ladder. I used to believe that myself, especially when I was young, working through the American education system, earning my degrees, landing a teaching job at a respected university, and earning my professional title. To outsiders, it might have looked like everything came easily for me. And to be honest, except for a few stumbles, like my famously bad Southern accent that colleagues used to tease me about, or a couple of awkward moments when department heads wanted to move me to a different teaching position, my life really did look pretty smooth from the outside. But behind that smooth exterior, there are always stories, moments of embarrassment, setbacks, small failures that sting more than we'd like to admit. For me, the most frequent criticism was about my accent. Some said it made my lectures hard to follow, that my words would trip and tumble out of my mouth. I never really saw it that way myself. I thought my way of speaking was part of my charm. But there were a couple of times when the administration called me in to discuss my teaching assignments. Let's just say I left those meetings feeling a little more humble and a little less sure of myself. Still, I'd be lying if I said I've faced tremendous hardships or monumental failures. Most of my life, I've gotten by with a good memory, a lot of enthusiasm, and a stubborn refusal to let criticism sink too deep. And yet, every year, as more young people reach out to me, through email, through comments on the videos I post for my students, or just in conversation in the hallways, they ask me for advice about failure, about setbacks, about depression and discouragement. They say things like, "Professor Carter, I just can't get over what happened. I feel like I've let everyone down." Or, "How do I keep going after I failed so badly?" So today, I want to tell you what I've learned about failure, resilience, and the secret to staying calm and hopeful, even when life knocks you flat. The psychology of memory, choosing what to remember. Let me start with a little quirk of my own. I've never been good at holding on to bad memories. Maybe that's a blessing, or maybe it's a flaw. But when I look back, I barely remember the things that went wrong. What I do remember are the people who were kind to me, the students who came back after graduation just to say hello, the little victories that gave me a sense of purpose. I'm not saying I've never been disliked or resented. Of course, there were folks who didn't appreciate my style or my jokes, but those faces just slip away from my mind. Instead, I hold on to the smiles, the laughter, the encouragement. That's become a habit for me, and I try to share it with my students and friends. Don't keep a list of your failures. Keep a scrapbook of your good moments. Of course, there's a catch to this habit, because I don't dwell on my failures. I don't always learn from them. I've made the same mistakes more than once, sometimes in the same semester, sometimes in the same week. I'll forget that a certain approach didn't work, and I'll try it again, only to stumble in the same place. But if there's one thing I've never feared, it's trying again. Even now, well past 60, I keep planning, keep experimenting, keep setting new goals. And honestly, that's what keeps me feeling young. The world may think people my age should settle into routine, but I say, let's keep pushing. Let's keep daring. If you're young and you've already failed, congratulations. That means you're living. The more you try, the more you will fail. And that's perfectly normal. Why failure doesn't crush us unless we let it. A lot of people ask, why doesn't failure affect you the way it affects me? It's a good question. I think it's because I see failure as just part of the process. Think about it. When a child learns to walk, how many times does she fall? 100, 1,000. Nobody counts because falling down is simply part of learning to stand up. Take something as simple as practicing your signature or trying to master your grandmother's apple pie recipe. You mess up the dough, burn the filling, drop the pie on the floor, but you just laugh, clean up, and try again. Or think about all the times you tried to memorize that one Shakespeare sonnet for English class. You'd remember a few lines, then forget, then start over. Forgetting is just a temporary failure. If you're afraid of that, you'll never try anything new. You'll stay in your safe little bubble. That's why I tell my students, nobody succeeds on the first try. Not me, not you, not the people whose stories fill our history books. If you write one good paper, you'll probably write another bad one next week. That's just how growth works. I'll share a story about a young man who wrote to me from the university's counseling center. He'd fallen hard for a girl in his department. She was single. She was bright. And every time she smiled, he thought his heart might burst. But he was terrified. Terrified to tell her how he felt. Terrified she'd reject him. Terrified his friends would laugh. I asked him, why don't you just tell her? What's the worst that could happen? He said, I'm afraid I'll lose face. I'm not that important, but the embarrassment would be unbearable. I laughed and said, son, don't take your face so seriously. Nobody is keeping score except you. If she says no, you pick yourself up and move on. If she says yes, you've just taken the first step toward happiness. In truth, the people who are most afraid of failure are often those who care too much about other people's opinions. But life is too short to let fear rule you. Rejection, or criticism, and the value of honest feedback. Let's talk about rejection, because it's the twin sister of failure. Some people freeze at the thought of being turned down, whether it's for a date, a job, or a dream. When someone does fail, there's often a wave of shame. What will people think of me? Am I good enough? But let's be honest, no matter who you are, you'll have supporters and detractors. I've taught hundreds of students. Some love my class. Others can't stand me. I've made a point of telling the college administration, and even my online followers, that I never delete negative feedback. Criticism is feedback. If 60% of the class likes me, I consider that a win. If 40% don't, that's just life. Imagine if we demanded universal approval before doing anything risky. Nobody would ever apply for a job, fall in love, or stand up for what they believe. Rejection is normal. If you avoid it, you avoid living. Let me share a story from early in my career. There was a time when the department head suggested I'd be better suited to an administrative job rather than teaching because of my accent. I was angry and embarrassed. But I realized years later that this experience made me tougher. It was a failure, but it became part of the grit that helped me succeed later on. Smooth sailing in life is often just luck, not talent. Most of us have a mix of the two. I remember my own mentors, Professor Young from Boston, Miss Zimmerman from our department, who told me, "Michael, you're young. There will be other opportunities." I used to think, but what if I never get another chance? That's the anxiety of youth. You think every moment is make or break. With experience, you realize there's always another chance, another day, another opportunity. The illusion of control and the gift of resilience. Looking back, I can see that my own good fortune is a combination of temperament, support, and the occasional lucky break. I remember a time when, after a long night celebrating a minor victory, I bragged to my wife that I'd made it. She asked, "How do you know?" I replied, "The dean told me to do it well, so I must be in." Later, I found out that my success was partly due to a quirky turn of events. The person ahead of me hadn't passed the English test, and the department needed someone to fill the spot. I share this not to minimize hard work, but to recognize that sometimes things go our way for reasons beyond our control. I became a professor not just by effort, but also because the timing was right. My life has been mostly comfortable, and for that, I'm grateful. But I also know that the people who achieve the most, those whose names fill our history books, are often those who face the toughest struggles. Sima Qian, the great Chinese historian, wrote that only those who have suffered deeply can become truly creative and resilient. Think of America's own icons, Abraham Lincoln, whose failures and setbacks would have broken a lesser man, or Helen Keller, who faced unimaginable obstacles and yet became a beacon of hope. These are the people whose hardships shaped them. I remember a period in college when I was plagued by insomnia. I'd chosen the wrong major, felt trapped, and couldn't see a way out. The nights were long, the days were foggy, and despair clung to me like a second skin. I read an article by an American psychologist who wrote, "Insomnia isn't the enemy. The fear of insomnia is the enemy." That line changed me. I've since realized the same is true of failure. Failure isn't the real danger. The fear of failure is what paralyzes us. Rational self-reflection. Learning from failure. When setbacks strike, it's easy to panic, to spiral into self-doubt and negative thinking. I've seen it happen to so many students, and I've felt it myself. After failure, it's common to think, "I'm the only unlucky one. Everyone else seems so happy, so successful." But that's an illusion. Everybody has their struggles, their moments of darkness. The first step after any failure is to calm down and ask, what went wrong? Was it my approach, my attitude, my preparation? If you try to bake a cake and it collapses, maybe the recipe was wrong. Maybe you left out the baking powder. Or maybe you just need to try a different oven. I once had a friend named Lisa, a small business owner from Seattle. She tried to start her own restaurant 6 times. 6 times, she lost everything. Friends thought she was crazy. But on the 7th try, she found the right formula. A blend of comfort food, local ingredients, and warm hospitality. She became a local legend, famous for her resilience as much as her cooking. What does this tell us? Those who've never failed are often fragile. Resilience is born from hardship, not ease. Even now, I sometimes wonder if my own smooth path left me less tough than I could have been. Historical examples. Perseverance in the face of repeated failure. If you look through American history or the stories of other great civilizations, you'll find the same pattern again and again. Take the story of Thomas Edison, whose teachers told him he was too stupid to learn anything. Edison failed thousands of times before perfecting the electric light bulb. Or J.K. Rowling, rejected by a dozen publishers before Harry Potter became a worldwide phenomenon. Or consider the stories from ancient times. In China, Meng Jiao and Han Yu failed their civil service exams multiple times before finally passing, and their poetry celebrates the sweet victory of perseverance. The spring breeze that blows through all the flowers in Chang'an in one day is a metaphor for the joy that comes after years of struggle. Failure is painful, yes, but it is also the crucible in which greatness is forged. The essential lessons: tenacity, willpower, and the pursuit of meaning. As I reflect on all these stories, my own, my friends, my students, and those of history's giants, I keep returning to the same truth. Failure is ordinary. Sudden, unearned success is the exception, not the rule. When you fall, don't stay down. Analyze your mistake, change your strategy, and try again. If you fail an exam, don't call yourself stupid or unlucky. Don't imagine that everyone else is living in sunshine while you're stuck under a cloud. Everyone struggles. The key is to find the reason for your failure. Maybe you need to study differently. Maybe you need to ask for help. Or maybe you just need more time. Resilience means standing up again and again and again. I'm reminded of the words of Maya Angelou. We may encounter many defeats, but we mustn't be defeated. Let me give you another story. Years ago, I had a graduate student named Rebecca. After a painful breakup, she was convinced she'd never find love again. She felt isolated and hopeless. I gently reminded her, there are over 300 million people in America, more than 30 million single people your age. You're not out of options yet. The world is vast, and your journey is just beginning. It's the same in careers, in family, in every part of life. If one door closes, another opens. But you have to keep knocking. A final reflection: the courage to stand up again. So what does it all mean? In every corner of America, in every city, every small town, there are people struggling, hoping, dreaming, failing, and trying again. Some days, it may feel like the weight of failure will crush you. But it won't, if you remember these simple truths. Failure is normal. Success is sweet, precisely because it is rare. Don't measure yourself by your setbacks. Measure yourself by how many times you stand up. Don't fear rejection or embarrassment. Everyone faces criticism. It's part of life's feedback system. Learn to reflect, adjust, and try again. Change your method if it's not working. Change your path if it leads nowhere. Resilience and perseverance matter more than talent. Passion, tenacity, and willpower build character and lead to meaningful success. Don't let the fear of failure keep you from living fully. Every failure is another step toward wisdom. To all my students, friends, and anyone listening, whatever you're facing, you are not alone. Life's most powerful lessons are born from hardship. Embrace the setbacks, cherish the little victories, and keep moving forward. In time, you'll find your own version of success, one built on courage, resilience, and the refusal to give up. Thank you for letting me share my story. Remember, the greatest strength is not in never falling, but in always rising, dusting yourself off, and moving forward with hope. You have searched for meaning among the crowd 1,000 times. Sometimes, when you least expect it, you will find it looking back at you. Keep going, keep believing. The best is yet to come.